What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. I'm just gonna make a quick video right now because I wanted to respond to a jackass. Obviously, is a non so-called melanated person, a pink person. Want to make a comment saying that we're claiming the quote Olmecs or the Olmec people because they want quote sub-Saharan Africans. I repeat, I always constantly say this. Not all black people are African, but you also need to be careful. Stop using the term sub-Saharan, because I hear a lot of these so-called Pan-Africans. They use that term sub-Saharan, 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 and they fall in the traps of these white folks, these white anthropologists, archaeologists, and historians. Continue to throw that term out there, and it's a very slick and racist terminology. Now I'm gonna turn the page of this particular encyclopedia. This is my second volume set. I'm gonna go to page, I want to say page 15. You can't never really trust these devils, man, because they'll just lie, constantly lie. Look at this right here. All right, here's the Sahara Desert. It's a prehistoric past. The Sahara was not always a parched desert as it is today. Throughout the Ice Age, the huge glaciers and ice caps of Europe pushed the zone of the temperature climate southward. The Sahara was then a rich grassland and a hunting ground for prehistoric people. Relics of these people include stone tools and rock carvings on sheltered cliffs and walls of caves. I'm gonna stop there. All right, but as you read a lot of this stuff, a lot of these white, since this is a white book, they try to claim that the Berbers are white, which is a lie. But what I just read, and I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna emphasize this now. The Sahara was not always a parched desert. It is like it is today, and it used to be what you call a rich grassland. I talked about before how it used to be mega lakes in Africa, and you had a lot of people. There's rock art painting that shows you in caves, showing people hunting, swimming in water and hunting for fish. Now, obviously, you're not gonna have fish in the damn desert, but they had large puddles of water when they had fish, and they also had animals that once existed in that region, but since the area dried up, many of them died out or might have tried to escape to the next riverbed, so where they can still survive. All right, they show people riding on various different animals. Black people existed in that area, which is now the Sahara Desert. So to make the Sahara a racial dividing line, like a quote Mason-Dixon line of the supposedly South and the North, is preposterous, ridiculous, and asinine. But you get these stupid white people who do that. Unfortunately, some of our people are dumb enough to follow them. See, I've studied this long enough to understand these little slick terminologies they throw out there. There's no such thing as sub-Saharan. And unfortunately, like I said before, you get these Pan-Africans who keep throwing that term out there themselves. Oh, they're not sub-Saharan African. That term is a racist, white, colonialistic, bigoted term and for a land grab to the northern part of Africa, particularly Egypt, and the history of the Moors that were in North Africa and West Africa and into Europe. That's a way to steal the history. But some of you brothers and sisters don't understand that. You continue to listen to these people. These are foreigners writing your history. They have no business writing your history. They continue to lie. I have a book that's called African Rock Art that shows these black people there fishing in water that no longer exists. I said before, I just read you something how they said it was a grassland. I said before, as the area dried up, some brothers and sisters moved out of that region and moved to other regions. We already knew about each other globally. But see, it gets me, it boggles me that you still, well, I expect white folks and other people to say that mess because they want to continue to steal our history. But when Negroes say this stuff and they continue to regurgitate these lies that these white folks give them, it's a problem to me. Because there's no excuse. I'm hearing people, all you gotta do is go on Google, or all you gotta do is go on the computer in 2 minutes to refute something. No, you cannot do that. You cannot Google research majority of history, man. You're gonna have to do some deep research. That's gonna take some time. So when I hear these Negroes talking about majority of us are brought over in a boat, all you gotta do is do research and get there in 2 minutes. That tells me that you have not done no damn research and you are an idiot. Because you still regurgitating that white man's lie. The so-called Olmecs were so-called Negroes. I showed you pictures of Negroes with an afro hairline. Big ass afros. Them damn Mexicans don't have that. Cornrows in their goddamn hair. And they features, man. See, they could show you some mixed Mexican mestizo today who may have some black features, but they're not the true descendants of the original Olmec G, the Mayan, the Aztec people who were there. They have been watered down with other groups, but they're not the original ones. Because I always emphasize this, that the Olmecs rocked their woolly. Their hair wasn't straight. Even though you do have so-called black people, melanated people with straight hair, they rocked a woolly. And I showed that. But see, these crackers know that the truth is coming out, and they cannot hide. They cannot suppress it any longer. Because there's too much information out there, and his brothers and sisters starting to wake up. But I want to tell you this, brothers and sisters, get out of that mess using the term sub-Saharan African. That is an asinine, colonialistic, white, racist terminology. Stop using that damn terminology. The Olmecs were Aboriginal black people of this land. And you have various different black people who traveled and mixed in with other black people, mixed and mingle, or they took in wives from other land and brought them here, and vice versa. Stop thinking that so-called all black people have, quote, sub-Saharan features, or so-called black person have white features. So-called black people come in all different features. All features originate from so-called black people. You have black people with pointy noses, thin lips, and flat behind, full lips, wide noses, or rounded noses. We have very different features. We come from blue, black, or pale skin. The original white people were nothing but albinoid Negroes. The original blue-eyed people were Negroes that probably had a defected gene in them, or an albinoid trait in them, going back 10,000 years ago, where you see some of them will start having blue eyes and blonde hair. The original blue-eyed and blonde-haired people were so-called Negroes. You see in the Pacific Islands, some people try to say, oh, they mixed. No, those are black people who are aboriginal to their land, who had that genetic trait in them for thousands of years, even before the existence of white people. So the original so-called blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were Negroes. Like you see some albinoid people who were pale skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes, but they still so-called Negro people, black people. I'm emphasizing this because I had some devil to come on to my site claiming that we're stealing history that had nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africa. Man, I'm not no goddamn sub-Saharan African. I'm not African. But you brothers and sisters need to be careful how these clowns use these terms. These fools want to make so-called black people coming from one region. That all so-called black people come from one region. I have the book by UNESCO. Actually, I had the first 2 volumes. I believe it's in volume 1, or volume 2, maybe volume 1, where they created the 7 different races in Africa. And when you look at it, these are all so-called black people, man. But they created 7 different races. This is a way to write their white ass into a history and a culture that they didn't exist in. And that's what they try and do to the Americas. The American black history is so old, man, and they've been trying their best to bury it, that they trying their best to whiten everything up, whiten the storyline, whiten the people, claiming that fictional white gods came to save the people. These people are nothing but compulsive liars, racist assholes, and this is why we really need to separate from them, man. I'm being honest with you. We need to separate from these bastards. Just do a little business. That's it. Separate from these bastards. This is our land. And I'm telling this to some of my so-called African brothers and sisters, and some Caribbean brothers and sisters, man. Many of us know our true history. Stop just saying that we're, quote, African. Don't do that. and then say we don't love who we are. Many of us know who the hell we really are. Is that you don't know who you are or your true history. Because if you understand true history, world history, you would have known that the original people in Americas were so-called black people. And you had black empires here. These white folks are not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you anything. So for you just to believe that black folks only came to America on the bottom of a slave ship, and that we all supposedly are sub-Saharan African, that is asinine and ignorant, man. But you allow a stranger, a foreigner, to teach your damn history, man. Do not allow that. Wake up and learn your true history. Go out there and try to seek as much knowledge as you can. Get all your history. Love all your history. Embrace all your history. Because it's in your face. You're in your face. Our true history is in your face. And I'm going to tell you this now, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you this now, brothers and sisters. I've been saying it. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to Takal. I'm going to get to Takal. All right? I'm going to get to Takal. I'm going to get to it. And Copan. But this is our damn history, man. This is our damn history. It's all our history, man. It's all our history. And we need to take it all damn back. Take it all back. Because these bastards are lying. I know that they're lying because I put in the research and the time. You cannot Google research this stuff. It costs money. Or you have access to certain information. You're able to obtain that information. Obtain it. Do not listen to these Negro scholars at these PWI schools or these HBCU schools. They teach you that you're a slave from Africa. That's all they doing. Ain't no different from the devil that came on my YouTube page talking about the Olmecs weren't, quote, sub-Saharan African. So we created this north-south racial dividing line where the people under the desert were nothing but Negroes. So the northern part, or north of the Sahara, they were white. Okay, when you look at those people today, they always look like mulattoes. I said that before, they're nothing but mulattoes. They're a result of the mulattoes, black Moors, having a bunch of concubines of white women creating these mulatto children, and they are the result of that. Those are nothing but Turkish people. They have nothing to do with ancient. So when Kevin Hart said the ancient Egyptians were black, he's right. Those are nothing but mulatto Turks who need to shut the hell up. They had nothing to do with that culture, nothing to do with anything. Many of them go back to the Mamluks. All right? They can kiss my ass. But I'm telling you this now. Be careful of slick terminologies, man. Like sub-Saharan. Those are slick terms, man. Do not listen to that. Anyone who tells you that, and I hear, like I said, I hear Pan-Africans say that, you need to turn the other way. And away from them. So, I'm just letting you know that, continue to study. See, that game doesn't run on me because I know the history. I know the Sahara Desert was not always there. I know you had civilizations that once existed in the Sahara Desert. I know you had mega lakes throughout the so-called continent of Africa. I know you had great civilization and great lakes and rivers that dried up here in Americas that no longer exist. That's why one of the reasons that the Anunnaki left their region, because it dried up, as well as constant war and conflict within the area. But they built their civilization high on a cliff to basically, as a way of protecting themselves from oncoming attacks to their region. Because it was such up high. If it was lower, it'd be easier to attack. But since they're up high, you have to climb up high. And then that's a better way. And when you up high, it's a better way for you to see your opponent coming and to attack your opponent and to destroy your opponent. But that area and region started to dry up also. Our history is in our face. We really need to understand our history. Like I said before, I was cut off because my time went out. You look at a lot of your history, look at a lot of these names. You look at El. Those are relics of Osiris. Osiris, Asa, Bel, El. Kal-El. Superman, Osiris, Horus. Those names in your face. That name of the so-called Kemetic god is still in this land. But they'll tell you that it comes from some white Spaniards. That's a goddamn lie. It's the relics of the names of the ancient aboriginal blacks who empires that were already here. These names in your face. You gotta understand that. You have to research. Do not listen to these traditional Negroes. Many of them online kick you lies. You have to understand your research. Like I just read you about the Sahara Desert. It was grassland. Okay? If it was grassland, okay, you claim that sub-Saharan, if it was no desert at the time, what are they? Where are the people then? The people were the same when the desert came in the north and the south. It just at a point in time, a lot of those Negroes started bringing in white slaves from Morocco to Egypt and having white concubines with white, having affairs, having sex with white women, and having mulatto kids. Because all the so-called North Africa originally are black. All the so-called Europe was black. I showed you the book by G.J. Campbell Dunn talking about how all so-called Europe, and he showed the pictures of heads where the black people were at in Europe, that was all black. So not only that so-called sub-Saharan, but that northeastern corner where Egypt at, but into southern Europe and all through deeper into sort of going to Central Europe and to Northern Europe, those are nothing but Negroes. Them white folks did not originate in Europe. They originated what you call Central Asia. That's where they come from. And they come from albinoid black people who had a genetic defect, let's put it that way. And many of them start basically procreating with one another. So I'm telling you this now. Them white folks are not indigenous to anything. Once you know your true history, once you really know your true history, you able to basically dissect any information these bastards give you and to destroy these lives. Read that again. Read this again. The Sahara was not always a parched desert as it is today. Throughout the Ice Age, the huge glaciers and ice caps of Europe pushed the zone of temperate climate southward. The Sahara was then a rich grassland. I repeat, the Sahara was then a rich grassland. I repeat, the Sahara was then a rich grassland and hunting ground for prehistoric people. Relics of these people include stone tools and rock carvings on sheltered cliffs and walls of caves. I mentioned cave drawings. All they did was show Negroes. They didn't show crackers. All right? So I'm letting you know that, brothers and sisters. Do the damn research. This isn't one of these doggone encyclopedias, man. This is do your damn research. Do your damn research. The information is in your face, but it's for you to want to know this knowledge. The Sahara was then a grassland and hunting ground for prehistoric people. Relics of these people, stone tools, and rock carvings on sheltered cliffs and walls of caves. You notice he said cliffs and walls and caves. So those Negroes was carving into rock then there, and they did it all over the damn planet. That's my connection showing you how so-called black people on various different continents were writing on walls and carving onto rocks and to caves. They did that globally. White folks weren't doing that. The original people who were doing that were so-called Negroes. So don't come on my page claiming that I'm still in the Olmec culture and the Olmecs were not sub-Saharan African. I don't know any person on this planet who's sub-Saharan African. That is a racist, geopolitical, anthropological, archaeology, racist term. Have a good day, brothers and sisters.